Hello everyone, it is Briximus Prime, back at it again this year for the top 10 Studio Series Transformers that I got throughout 2023. And yeah, some of these figures are from the movie Toy Line, the Studio Series, and just, the Studio Series 86. And we'll start by going over my honorable mentions, and then we'll go into the actual top 10. Now again, there are so many figures that came out this year, and I had a hard time making the list, but I did want to go over the honorable mentions that barely didn't make it, and also I should also mention some of these figures I have not reviewed yet, so keep that in mind as well as I go through the list. So first we have Rhinox, we have Airazor, Cheetor, Mirage, and Nightbird. I do love all of these figures, and I was really satisfied with getting all of them, and they complete the cast from the movie. But there were too many figures that I liked from this year, and so there were some that got cut from the top 10. But these were some of my other favorite figures that just weren't in that list. And now getting into the Studio Series 86 honorable mentions. First off, we have Studio Series 86 Ratchet. He's in the honorable mentions because Ironhide already went into the top 10 from last year, and because Ratchet's just a repaint, he didn't end up that high on this list. But I still love the figure a lot that I wanted to mention him here. And then Brawn, he just barely didn't make it into the top 10 just because there were other figures I liked more. So, getting into the top 10 by starting with number 10, we have the Studio Series Deluxe Class Rise of the Beasts Bumblebee. I really liked this version of Bumblebee. It's probably the best Studio Series Bumblebee in the Camaro form we have ever gotten. And I really liked the figure, but I was a little upset that the first initial release didn't have paint on the face, and also it's missing a lot of necessary paint on the blade, and I feel like they kind of skimped out on this guy a little bit, but the engineering is absolutely flawless. Now getting into number 9, we have the Studio Series Battle Trap. I really like Battle Trap. He's a great Voyager class. He was one of my first Rise of the Beasts figures I got this year, and I do like him a lot. It's just my biggest issue with him is he didn't have a lot of accessories. He just had his mace, where in the movie he had the chain on the mace and he had a gun, and just felt like he was missing a couple of accessories. But overall, he still deserves to be in the top 10. Now getting into number 8, we have the Studio Series 86 Leader Class Snarl. I really love Snarl's alternate mode. It's very chunky, very weighty, and I just overall love the Dinobots. And this guy feels a lot closer to Studio Series 86 Grimlock, like in terms of quality, scale, and detail, and I also appreciated that this guy actually came with a sword. Now getting into number 7, we have the Studio Series Voyager Class Gamer Edition Megatron from War for Cybertron. I really love the War for Cybertron video game, and I knew this guy would be in my top 10 no matter what, but he didn't end up that high in the top 10 because of those stupid knee joint things that that you have to shave off to give him more knee articulation. Everything else is great, and his mace is alright, but everything else is just fine. It's just those little pegs that really kind of messed up the opinion for this guy. And now getting into number 6. Now this guy barely didn't make it into the top 10, but this is the Studio Series Leader Class Optimus Primal. I really liked this guy. I love his articulated fingers. My only real issue with this guy is his head can't really look up very far, but I also appreciated that he came with a bunch of extra accessories, like he came with the chain, he came with his swords, he came with the axe, he came with the transwarp key that splits in half, and this guy just really felt like he really completed and filled in a lot of holes in my collection for the Rise of the Beasts cast and accessories, and overall, he's a great figure. Now getting into number 5. We're in the top 5 now. We have the Studio Series Rise of the Beasts Leader Class Scourge. I was very pleased with this figure, even though he's not very accurate to the movie and he was based on concept art. I personally was very satisfied with this figure, and also mine doesn't show any signs of breaking or breakage. And I also have a good opinion on this figure because he became my most popular review I've ever made on this channel in 2023. And so I am a little biased, but I do still really love how this figure came out, and I was just very satisfied with how it turned out. And also, I love that cross-compatibility that he also has with the little core class Freezer and Novocaine figures, and how they can turn into little guns, and they can store on the back of his truck mode. Just overall, this guy definitely was one of the most satisfying figures that I had. Plus, I loved his character in the movie a lot, which also gave me a lot of hype behind the figure. Now going into number 4, we have the Studio Series 86 Commander Class Ultra Magnus. This guy comes as no surprise as being on the list because Commander Class figures are always going above and beyond some of the other mainline figures that you get. And this guy definitely definitely has a lot of engineering and a lot of budget that was put into him, and I appreciate everything that Hasbro did with this guy, and he's a tons of fun. He just barely didn't make it higher on the list because there were other figures I liked more. Now getting into number 3. This one might come as a bit of a shock at being on number 3, but this is the buzzworthy Bumblebee Optimus Prime from Rise of the Beasts. I do love this figure, but there are certain things that are hindering me from loving him all the way. His shoulders running into his head does cause a bit of trouble, and also the fact that they're just a little bit limited and there are certain poses that are accurate to the movie, or just in general that I want to get him in, that he's too stiff to pose in. But overall, the rest of him is absolutely amazing. Also, I have the axe for him from Optimus Primal, so it makes him more complete. So this is the only movie mainline figure that ended up on this list, but it's no surprise either. It's the Takara exclusive Ultimate Optimus Primal. I like this Optimus Primal that little bit more than the Studio Series one, only because this guy has a much bigger size, weight. Like, he definitely has that commander class kind of old leader class kind of engineering going for him. I love his accessories. I love his bells and whistles with the little flip-out cannons on his arms, and he has the interchangeable faceplate, and just overall, I really liked this guy, but preventing him from going into number 1 spot was the fact that the first time I bought this figure, he had a broken neck joint. And I had to go and call Hasbro customer service, and there was this whole lengthy process. But thankfully, they sent me a brand new one, and I managed, to get him without a broken neck joint. But he didn't end up in my number 1 spot because of that bad experience. And now getting into my number 1 figure of the year. This figure does have a couple of small issues, but I overall really love him. The Gamer Edition Voyager-class Optimus Prime from the War for Cybertron game is one of the best Optimus Prime Voyager-class figures I've ever handled, and I absolutely love him. He is a great size, he has that Voyager heft and bulkiness, he has his extra accessories, he actually can hold his axe properly, and I love the interchangeable arm gimmick. His truck mode is also really well done. It just has that little gap in the back, and really that's the only complaint I have with him, is that he just has that little gap in the back. I do also wish that maybe he could hold the gun like normal, where it just has a handle, but it's not that big a problem anyway, but I still wish the arm had a better place to actually store. And, it's just tiny little nitpicks about this figure, but this was one of my most satisfying purchases, and also was another great review I also did from this year. So yeah, that is basically it for my top 10 figures of the year. Let me know in the comments what your favorite top 10 figures were from the Studio Series of this year, and I'll continue making a couple more of these throughout the next little bit. I have a couple more top 10 figures lists to go through, and yeah, be sure to like the video, comment below what you guys think, subscribe to the channel for more Transformers and action figure videos, and I'll catch you guys next time.